Hello and welcome to the podcast version of MLT Tech Talk. I'm joined today by Ildar Abdrashitov. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
MLT's data scientist, and he's here with me today to talk about model scoring and deployment. So welcome, Ildar.
Hi, Nicole. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So, first question. So, can you please talk to us about model scoring? What does it mean and why is it so important?
Well, while training machine learning models, we first need to understand that when training machine learning model, you have to make three major decisions. Namely, first you need to understand what kind of model you're gonna choose and what kind of architecture of that model will be. The second thing is that you have to decide on hyperparameters that you will choose for your model. And the third decision that you will have to make in order to make a reliable, good model is what kind of data, or in other words, features you're going to select for that model. So in order to arrive to these decisions, you have to score your model. And as long as machine learning is a very iterative process. You're basically training and retraining and playing with different hyperparameters and tuning your model. And at every iteration, you're scoring your model. You're calculating your metric for that model. And by that, you're assessing your models across other possible options. And by this means, you're arriving with the best model you can possibly have for the data you're working with. A few words. I have to tell a few words about metrics themselves. So there are a lot of metrics for machine learning models, and there are different metrics applied for different categories of machine learning problems. Let's say for classification problems, you may choose precision recall F metrics. For regression models, and it is a very common practice in the industry that people choose R squared or mean average error or mean average percentage error for the metrics.
Cool. Well, so as you've mentioned, there's a lot of metrics that exist. So how does someone go about choosing the right metrics for their specific model?
Well, actually, there is no golden rule for choosing the metric. First, you need to realize that your metric should serve a business need that your machine learning model is going to solve. So, for instance, let's say if you're training a model to predict power consumption usage, for example, and if for your task, it is enough just to have an accurate model that will, on average, predict future power consumption quite accurately, you may just stop with a mean average error. But however, if you need your model to capture large spike and large deviation and large so-called outliers in your data, in this example, large spikes in power consumption, then probably choosing, let's say, root mean square error will be a metric of your choice.
So that's great information, Ildar. Now that we have a better understanding of what model scoring is, can you now shed a light on what model deployment is and what it looks like to deploy a model?
Models themselves, basically as an object with a set of learned parameters, is useless unless it is wrapped in a consumable format. By consumable format, I mean a model should serve business IT systems and users basically in a convenient way. This is why your machine learning model should be wrapped in some sort of applications, and in the industry it is most commonly it is done by creating an application with REST API that serves that model, so that basically any systems that IT systems, business intelligence systems that will be consuming a machine learning model can talk to this model in a very efficient way, and this is basically what model deployment is. Another thing is that when deploying your model, you have to track and monitor its quality metric and how the dynamics of that quality metric behaves during the time, because models tend to degrade over time, because business tends to change over time. So does the data that describes a certain business process tends to change as well.
Oh, that kind of seems like common sense, really, that you have to kind of adjust to compensate for the adjustments that happens to business. It just kind of makes sense. Well, thank you so much for shedding a light on what exactly is model scoring and model deployment. I think it's been very insightful. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you.
Yeah, for the podcast version of MLT Tech Talk. So my name is Nicole Hutchison. Thank you and have a great day.